Hey everyone, welcome to Chasing Art. It doesn't look like the chat box is working, so I'm going to shut that one off on this too. So there we go. All right, that's off, out of the way. Except for all this stuff, I switched back to a different lens. Uh, I shouldn't get my head in the way with this one at least, so we're going to go with that and see how it goes. I'm going to be continuing my drawing of the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island tonight, and I've got a little ways on in the last week here. Not a long ways, but a little ways. I'll show you the reference again here. Yeah, I've got to kind of look around everything too. Yeah, let me shut that chat off too. And I know I've got another one or two that I've got to do, but we'll do that when I switch to those windows. So this is the reference, and we're right about in the middle, maybe just to the right of middle. You'll see here in a sec here. I'll just flip it over and show you where we're at. This is where we're at right now with it. I think when I left off, I was over here on this and spent the week and got this far. But that's where we're at. That's where we're going to continue with. And there's the chat I need to shut off. So let's shut that off. And there we go. And now we'll get back to it. Mike's right kind of in my way, but anyway. So I've got the bushes in down here. I've got some bushes. I've got, man, there's so many doorways and windows and everything up in here that it's been pretty slow going, honestly. But I also do kind of bounce around a little bit and I've darkened up some stuff and put in some more positive lines where I needed them. And yeah, we'll just grab a pencil and keep going with it. Oh, we want to grab the right pencil though. It's not that one. It is that one. What we got? Any chats? Just a thumb up from Jennifer. I think I was checking to see if I actually had chat working or not, and I got the thumbs up on my phone, but I did not get it up in the screen as you see. I don't know what's going on. I got to figure that out yet. But getting back to this, is my focus okay? I always feel like with this lens I could get the focus just a little bit better, but then it doesn't. No. Maybe right there is probably about the best I think I can get with this one. So we'll roll with that. Let me know if it looks okay or not. We'll see what happens. So where I'm at right now, I've got these two balconies in. Got the little ball in here. You can see it up in the reference. I've got a flag here, and I'm just going to keep continuing on across here. Anybody have anything good from the week happen? I had a pretty boring week myself, except for working on this and just normal life stuff. Need my slip sheet. I may end up having to sharpen this pencil. It's a little bit dull, but it's okay. It works better for shading these areas in. It's a little bit later tonight than I was intending, but it happened. Ended up going out to eat and got home, and man, I really just wanted to take a nap. And I think I took about a 4-second nap earlier. And that's about as far as I got with it. And I tried finding something longer to put on that I wouldn't mind sleeping through. And, in the process of flipping channels, I end up watching this and watching that. Watch some old AC/DC videos. And next thing I knew, it was 10 o'clock, and it's like, oh, I better either hop on or not do it tonight. And I'd rather just do it, I guess. I considered maybe just doing it during the day tomorrow, but it didn't go that way. It could go that way. I'm not going to say it's not going to go that way, but I don't have this set up right through YouTube, so I can't see anything going on. I can only see chat by looking at my phone. One of these days I'm going to get through this and be able to actually set a stream up right. Maybe I should work on that. Chat looks pretty quiet, so I'm assuming everything must look okay on that end. Excuse me. In the reference, as this comes across, they do get slightly lighter. That's why you kind of see these getting a little bit lighter as it goes. It's not a lot. It's just a little bit. So I'm trying to mimic that as I go. Now this area up here, right through here, I noticed earlier that's awful light up here. I'm going to end up shading all this down probably to just about halfway down. I have some shading in it as it stands right now. I have quite a bit of shading in it. This end is darker, but I need to bring this darkness all the way across here. I think that's something that I'll end up coming back to somewhere through the drawing. If you've watched me before, you know I kind of jump around a little bit. I try to explain myself as I go. Like that right there, just kind of jump around. So I've got, where's my, all right, there's the ball. So I've got a window here. It looks like just a balcony right here. I'm going to get those in, and then we can shade this section. All right, thank you, Jennifer. I wondered about that. All right, that didn't come over quite that far. Right about there. Very lightly on this side, as it seems to be a little bit more in the seems like the light source is more so coming from the left than the right. Seems like the right side of everything is a little bit darker than the left. I'm going to darken this section up just a little bit so I don't lose that column. Knock some of this out. It does not come down all the way. That looks like it comes down, yeah, maybe right in here. That's where we're going to call it. Again, the bottom side will be a little bit darker. There's that. We have our railing. And I'm just putting in hints of a railing right there. As long as you can see that. All right. And then down here we have a very small window. Right? No, we have no window down here. It's just the balcony off of that. Oh, this is the 4H pencil. It's the lightest drawing pencil, basically the lightest color that I have. As pencils go, like I've been generally using a 2H or a 4H, a 2H, an HB, and a 2B. And as that steps up, the darker it gets. 4B, 6B, that gets up to into your blacker ranges. These are more in the gray area. This is the way I usually at least start my drawings out, is with the lighter colors. Lighter hardnesses, or harder pencils, harder graphite. And then I usually work up to the softer leads, which are darker. So like a lot of the, I don't know if you can tell or not, but a lot of the darker areas I've actually taken up to an HB so far at this point, but they're kind of sporadic. I have darkened up this area. I have darkened up this roof and this roof. Just some individual lines up inside here, just trying to define everything. And what I was using was my my 3mm. This is what I was using, Graph Gear 1000 Pentel from Pentel. It's a 0.3mm. 0.3mm lead, and that has HB in it. And that's what I've worked those areas up to, because I wanted a really fine line, but I definitely wanted it darker than where it was. A little bit more defined. So looking back at our reference, coming down here, there is a little canopy roof or something right in this area. Now, is there two of them? It looks like it's split. It is. So there's one right here, and it comes down, and then there's another one right here. It's over. The bottom of our column is here. Get some of these lines out of the way so I can bring this flagpole down to this concrete block here. That's where it's anchored to. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a little bit off camera, ain't I? Put in the suggestion of continuing that through there. It's coming down to there. Oh, and I've got it a little bit in the flagpole, so let's dab that out. Yeah, actually, I believe Jennifer asked if it's true that the Grand Hotel has the longest porch, and then actually I believe it's a world records holder of the world's longest porch. Man, I want to guess it's 400 plus feet long. So that's a pretty long porch. You know what? I do believe that I have this set up to be able to look up things. Let me see. We'll Google this real quick. Here, let's read this together. I believe I have this set up right. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the Mackinac Hotel on Mackinac Island, or the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island has, oh man, I was way off. It was 668 feet. I was thinking it was 400 and something. Huh. Yes, that's a very long porch. Luckily, I'm not even drawing all of it. I'm only drawing some of it. I'm probably drawing, I'm guessing maybe 60 to 70% of it. And you can't even really see the porch. It's down in here, all the way through here. Man, 668 feet. But getting back to this. So we have some black in here as well. So we'll just put some random black shapes in here. We'll stop that just a little bit shy of hitting. These, I believe, are actually bushes along the porch. So we're going to stop that a little bit right there just to just so the bushes don't get lost in the drawing. Give it a little bit of edge definition right there. And it looks like these are just gray. Very lightly with a pencil. I need to bring my column here up a little bit. Get this finished up before I get the rest of that in. Take my kneaded eraser and just kind of dab that out a little bit right in there. There we go. All right, I think we're about ready to fill in this section here now. And I'm just going to go over the whole thing except for the globe, and I want to leave a little bit of highlight right there for that cable that the globe hangs from. Just to give the indication that there's something there holding it up. I've got just a little shadow on one side, and then I'm going to leave the other side of it white, and I'm not going to shade into that area. I'll come back in with my blending stump and kind of smooth all that out. Where are we at? All right, kind of like that. I'm going to come back in now and just kind of redefine some of these edges, put some shadows in. You know what? There is a down pipe right here for the rain gutters. I need to get that down pipe in there. So this pencil is getting a little bit dull, but I'm going to rotate it to an area that I haven't used a whole lot of and see if that's thin enough to try to get that in there real quick. Yeah, I think that'll work. As long as I can keep my line straight enough. Oh. Little spot I lost it on. That's okay. That's what they make erasers for. There we go. I do believe on these other ones I came back in with my 3mm lead just to kind of define this a little bit better. We're going to let that dump out like right there. All right. Smooth that. Where's my... Let's come back in here with this. See what this does for us. Here we go. At one time I was way too heavy-handed for one of these 3mm leads, or 0.3mm leads. I was constantly breaking these leads. I learned you just have to have a very light touch with them. Like that, Mark. got here? Oh yeah, no problem. I like trying to learn new things about that. You know, when I was up there, I thought I was sure that they said it was like 400 and some feet, but boy, was I off, huh? As far as the length of the porch goes. How hard is it to get everything properly proportioned? Well, it can be rough sometimes, I won't lie. There's a reason that erasers are made. And rulers. Rulers help a lot. Sometimes you have to measure things to make sure that this is properly proportioned to another thing. It can be a pain, but if you enjoy the process, then it's just part of it. Where am I at here? All right, let's go ahead and continue on down with this column. I do need to knock a little bit out here. There we go. This section right here, this has been there's lattice work in here, and it's been kind of rough trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to draw a lattice that small. I think I've got it down now. I'm just kind of giving the indication that there is something there with that general shape. I'm not necessarily drawing the lattice out. It's too small. That's about 1/4 of an inch right there, and there's just no way I can get lattice that small. But if you can draw something to indicate, that there's something there, this little spot right here is generally not going to be studied by anybody passing by. They can look at the whole thing as a whole and go, yeah, that looks nice. Or, hey, it looks like shit. It could go either way with that. But they're probably not going to notice this little bit of lattice work here. So you just give the indication of it, and I guess hope for the best. So with all that being said, we're just about ready to work our way into that lattice. And I'll show you how I've been doing it. Now, I'm not really sure what this is. I think it's just part of the porch. It's just kind of noise right here, right through here. You probably can't see it very well, but how I've been doing this is I'll bring that across, and there's these 3 little lines that come down for some reason here. But our lattice is in this section right here. And there's posts that come down in there too. So I try to give the indication of those. So there's a little bit of a shadow under each one of them. So I've been making each one of this line, just a little bit darker in right there. I'm not drawing a gap. I'm just drawing in the indication of a shadow right there. Just a little bit darker. You can kind of see it here. Here. Same pretty much all the way across. Now there's a board that goes across up here. And one comes down here, and then I'm just making just little tick marks across there. And I come back the other way. And pretty much that's where I'm going to leave that. I'm probably going to come back and shade a little bit and whatnot, but that's how I've been doing the lattice. Because you didn't see it. You seen I barely moved my pencil to get those lines in there. Now, if my sharp pencil was a little bit sharper, it might work a little better, but still, that's, man, I wear glasses and I can't hardly see that. So, we will continue on. I might darken up just a little bit there. We're going to darken up underneath, down through here. And I'll bring out my blending stump and kind of just pull that stuff down. Just pull that graphite down a little bit. And redefine that edge here. And then those 3 little lines. And we have canopies all across the bottom of this too. I think I keep hitting the phone or hitting my camera with my hat. But I don't think I'm actually getting in the way of it this week. So that's an improvement. You know, I watched quite a few things on how to improve as a streamer / YouTuber, and you know, they say just keep doing it. Try to learn, or try to make your videos at least 1% better a week. All right, so maybe they don't quite make 1%, but hey, I'll take 0.5%, and if I can keep my hat out of there, I'm going to consider keeping my hat out of the camera a full % better. All these canopies have stripes on them. I don't know what's going on in that picture because it almost looks like they have something laying over top of them. Now, I don't know if that's white, like a white reflective something to try to keep the heat out of it. Excuse me. Which that might be what's going on there. I am not sure, but I'm not drawing those in. I'm just going to draw them without those. Sweet, my hat hasn't been in there yet. That's exactly what I'm shooting for. Just a little bit of shading on them just to kind of bring them forward a little bit. Now I'm going to continue. I've been doing the bushes as I go along with the whole thing too. So I'm going to try getting, I'm going to get the bushes in here, and then I'm going to put a little bit of where you can see underneath the canopy, but you can't see what's going on under there. Just kind of a drop shadow type thing. How I do these is basically I put my pencil down and I start doing a lot of random, maybe not figure eights, and they're not always circular either. And I'll keep spinning my pencil because as you use your pencil, you'll have flat spots on it and you'll have sharp spots on it. And by spinning my pencil, what that's doing is it's giving me some softer areas, and it's giving me some more hard edge areas. And that's what I'm shooting for while I'm doing this. Just to kind of, what it does is it, for me, it lends to the randomness that you have going on in, say, these bushes. Because there's so many darker areas, so many brighter areas. You know, I tried, if you squint your eyes just right when you look at the picture, you can kind of see general shapes. And Sometimes I shoot for those shapes. Sometimes I just make up my own shapes. But either way, by the way I do it, it's so random that I think it comes out pretty convincing as far as, hey, I know that's a bush. Is it match the photograph or anything? Probably not. But I mean, this is art. Sometimes you have to take a shit. I can't remember the term now. Why can I not remember the term? Artistic license. Sometimes you just need to use a little bit of artistic license, and nobody's gonna, unless you're trying to do photorealism, which I do not do photorealism. I try to get things close, but it's far from photorealism. I don't know exactly what you would call the style that I do. I'm really not sure about that. Maybe semi-realism. Now, also sometimes when I'm doing these, I'll come in with my kneaded eraser and I'll, what I do is I just bend it over and kind of roll it a little bit between my fingers. I might give it a little bit of a pinch, might not, till it's kind of shaped. Maybe something like this. That looks very suggestive. But then I'll come in and I'll kind of dab at some areas. Just try to put in areas with a little bit less graphite. I pick up a little bit of graphite just to give the indication of some brighter areas, and then off of those areas I'll continue with my figure eights, circles, squiggly lines, however you want to refer to these. And I seen an edge right here, so I kind of want to darken up behind it just to bring this section forward. Excuse me. And I will end up coming back to this when I do this next section, and I'll kind of overlap it into it. There. That's how I do my bushes. I do bushes like that. I do trees like that. Anything that has like a lot of leaves or maybe hair. If you got a real tight curl, instead of trying to draw every individual hair, leaf, whatever, I find this technique actually works pretty good. You may have a better technique. All right, let's get back up here. We got this pillar that comes down. So we'll bring this all the way down through. And if you do have a better technique that works good, leave me a comment. Let me know how it works, what you do. I am always open to learning new ways of doing this. What has been your favorite piece to draw from the island so far? Probably my favorite one that I've done so far. I've done what is this, number 4 or 5? Probably Arch Rock has been my favorite one. I don't know what it is about that one, but I really enjoyed drawing that. And I've enjoyed drawing this one too. But I had a lot of anxiety coming up to this one because there's so many details in it. So it was, I really had to talk myself into coming into this one. But Arch Rock, I don't know, I like the whole scene to begin with, so that was real easy to get into once it started flowing. It just, that one almost, maybe not drew itself, but it went a lot faster than what this one's going. I can tell you that much. Where's that line at? Right about there. So I'll bring this down just a skosh. There. And see, I can be a little bit heavier handed on this edge here because it is shaded on this edge. This edge over here, because of the shadow, I could do a little bit darker too. See, I'm always getting caught up in going back over everything. I need to just continue with this. And then come back to everything. I say as I do this. Sometimes you find little spots, and if you don't take care of them right at that minute, you'll forget about them. So when I find a little spot, most of the time I'll come right back. I'll come right to it, and I'll take care of it right then. Needed to continue that spout. This spout actually needs to come over too and come on down. I don't know if anybody would have ever noticed that. But I don't want to leave it like that. Now I'm going to end these spouts right here on top, where if you look in the drawing, they do come all the way down the front of these also, but I'm not going to. I don't think, you know what? It's possible I come back and finish them out and put them in there too, but I'm not going to do that right now. I do feel like I got that line a little bit dark though. That's what's great about these kneaded erasers. You put a little point on it and you can kind of lift. You're just lifting the graphite off of it. It's not even really erasing. There is an artist that I watch occasionally. His name is Smoothie77 on YouTube. And he actually uses a magnifying glass while he's drawing. And he does some amazing artwork. If I could get half as good as him, I'd be happy, the type of thing. But he uses a magnifying glass while he's drawing. And somebody asked him about it at one point, and he says, "No, I can see fine, but I can see better with it." And maybe I need to go to something like that. Where is my... Okay, there they are. I needed to find my bushes and get those in. There you go. We'll go ahead and put this section in too. But yeah, Smoothie, he's got a technique that, man, it is impressive watching him. I don't know how to explain it other than, man, you should really check him out. Again, that's Smoothie77. I've actually considered becoming a Patreon to his. It's very inexpensive. It's only a couple bucks I believe it's only maybe $3-5 a month. It's very inexpensive. And I have really considered it because, man, to be able to pick that dude's brain. Here we are again with one of these lattice sections. I don't know that I'm going to do this one right now or if I'm going to come back up here and work my way down to it. I'm probably going to come up and work my way down to it. Just getting the hints of everything in right now. I understand that this is going to get very repetitive and very boring very quick. But I do have a flag coming up, so maybe stick around to that. Maybe I'll go ahead and I'll just get that flag in right as long as I'm right here. That flag is going right here. I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen. Yeah, it looks like you can kind of see it on there. What I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to get that in. And that, the topper on that comes right over here. Down. We'll go just a little bit lighter on this side. Come in. I see where that column is now, so I'm going to knock some of this back. Clean that up. There, we'll go there. When you do your outline for the drawing, how much do you actually draw? I draw the whole thing. When I do my image transfer, I use a projector and I use and then I just go through and I put basically reference marks. If you can tell on this drawing, I have a lot of reference marks as to where things are landing in the drawing that I need to know. And honestly, that comes back to the whole proportion thing. That helps a lot with proportions too. I found that helped a lot with portraits. I can do portraits freehand, but it is a lot more accurate and honestly a little bit faster when you can actually put like where your eye is in conjunction with where your mouth is to your nose to where your ears fall. All that kind of thing all plays together. And if you get any of those off, if you're trying to do it freehand, then, you're coming back to your eraser and you're spending a lot of time with that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So, yes, a lot of times I'll use my projector and I'll put down, basically I'll mark the information that I want, placement of say, this column to this flag to this window, all that kind of thing. And they're not drawn out perfect. In the end, I'm drawing this whole thing. Everything else leading up to that is basically reference marks. If that makes sense. I know there's maybe not controversy. Some people look down on using a projector and whatnot. I do not. It's a time saver. It's a tool. This pencil right here, that's a tool. So is my projector. In the end, as long as I'm happy with everything that I've done, all my shading and everything's right, I got there a little bit faster using a projector. But no, by the time I'm done, I've drawn the whole thing. So I don't consider projecting to be cheating at all. If I don't think maybe you were getting at that, but I'm a little defensive about that. So I know when I first started drawing, when I first started drawing, I was very anti-projector at that point, and just believed, oh, well, if you're an actual artist, you should be able to do this. And I learned how to do it, but I learned that it is much faster if you use a projector or any other way of transferring an image. You can use Sorel paper, or is it Sorel paper? I think it's Sorel paper. I have some around here somewhere. I think I used it once and it made too much of a mess and I didn't care for it. You can put graphite on the back of a printed out picture and then trace over the front, and that acts the same way as Sorel paper, but you're not spending $20 for a roll or whatever it is. So there's a lot of different ways to transfer an image. I have a video, actually. I think I've got 3 or 4 different ways that I transfer an image on there. Yeah, it's in my library somewhere if you want to look that up. And that flag looks like it rolls around. That's you're more than welcome to look that up and see how I do it. I go through it pretty step by step how I do everything. And sorry, sometimes I pause when I'm concentrating. I go through it pretty step by step, and I think you'd probably get the gist of it. So it looks like this flag here, man, I can't tell if that's rolled around behind and I'm seeing a shadow from the fold on the other side or just what exactly is going on here. But let's do something else. Let's do this. That's where I'll do these. And I really don't get too defensive about the projector anymore. Like I say, it's a tool, and use tools where you can. I have seen other artists that will project their picture directly onto their canvas and then stroke for stroke start painting, and that I don't care for that. That just seems, well, I can't say that it works for them. I don't care for it because that seems more mass produced at that point, and that's kind of not really what I'm about. I like putting the time and effort into what I'm doing. But I mean, if it works for them, hey. These stars in this have actually been a very big hindrance. Really not liking this pencil right now. The stars kind of go like that, so as I shade this in, I've been kind of leaving indications of something there, even though I'm not drawing the star itself out yet, and I don't think I probably will. But you do have to leave some contrasting areas just to give the indication that, man, you can't really see that very well, can you? So I'm going to have to come back in and darken this up a bit. I mean, really, artwork is, it all comes back to, you know, what kind of marks you put down and what you're imagining them to be. It kind of, man, I just got off on a tangent and I lost my train of thought. Most of what artwork is maybe not trying to recreate it exactly, but when you look at a piece of artwork, your brain will automatically fill in certain information. And if you know that this is a flag, your brain is already, and you have and there's the indications of stars here, your brain is automatically going to fill those in unless you get right down and start studying them and realize, oh, there's not actually a star in here. Thank you, Jennifer. I kind of agree with that one. She says that any tool is acceptable. I'm going to step up in softness a little bit. Where's my 2H? Just to kind of give this a little bit more definition. Something about this flag is not sitting right with me yet. I'm going to step back to my 4H. I feel like that got a little bit dark. think that reads as a flag. But I don't like this here yet. Just a little tap. I'm going to come in with my 0.3 and just kind of define this edge a little bit. And like I've done over here, I'm going to end up having to come back in and definitely darken up the blue in these stripes. And in the field of stars, I'm definitely going to have to come back in and do that. But not right now. Put that pencil down, Mike. Boy, I really want to sharpen this pencil. But I'm getting ready to head into... You know what? I got to sharpen this pencil. Who's one of my favorite artists? Man, that's a tough one. Of all time? Or, yeah, how about that? Of all time or modern days? Because, I mean, of all time, probably Michelangelo or Da Vinci, honestly, would probably be my first two that I would pick. Bob Ross is definitely, I mean, he's turned me on to art when I was a kid, and I've just always really liked his stuff. It's kind of a joke or whatever. He's not a joke. It's kind of a joke because, you know, the lonely, friendly little trees and all that kind of thing. But he was a great artist. And, you know, what he did for art was very impressive. But, you know, like Michelangelo doing the Sistine Chapel and all that, I mean, that stuff is just ungodly too, you know. It almost otherworldly type. I don't even know how to describe that. I'd love to see that one of these days. I don't know that would ever happen. It would be maybe something to put on the bucket list, you know. Modern day artists, you know, I would probably the Smoothie 77 that I mentioned earlier. He's definitely up on there, just because his pencil work is just unreal. Man, I like a lot of different artists, honestly. For digital drawing and say for digital drawing and acrylics and very bright colors, probably my next favorite is he's another YouTuber. I watch a lot of YouTube. His name is his channel name is 1000, and I started watching him quite a few years ago. And he's got a real impressive style. It's very I don't know the name of styles, but it's kind of cartoony and just a little bit wonky, but everything works together so good that it's impressive, and I enjoy watching him. He tells good stories. Yeah, I enjoy watching him. Beyond that, man, there's just so many of them, especially if you want to talk modern day. I need to pull my reference up bigger. And do I have the right spot? There it is. All right. All right, now we're going to go onto this section. Like I said, this one is very repetitive. There is nothing really that changes from how I've been doing this. Is I've just been going in between each section and rinse and repeat every time. It's probably why it's been taking me so long. You know, maybe for the stream, maybe I'll come back. Maybe right now I'll come back up into here and I'll start darkening this section down. As you can see in the reference there, from the top down, it's a lot darker at the top. So, yeah, maybe I'll go ahead and do that while I'm right here before I get too far. Might make it just a little bit more interesting. And I'm just using my 4H on this. I'm going to ease up on the value that I'm looking for. By ease up, I mean I'm going to just work on it until, okay, that's about where I want it to be. That was me, not you. I do need to leave the indication of some of these window frames in here, so I'm going to have to do this. Now what I don't want to do is do any of the, I don't want to hit any of the columns. I want to push those forward actually a little bit by darkening this. And I do that by darkening this back section up. It should push these, give the illusion of pushing those columns forward. I'm just very lightly hitting it with the side of my 4H. I could probably step up, but you can see how it's starting to darken up through here now. Would I ever consider doing digital art? I've done a little bit of digital art. I don't think it's for me. I know how to do it. Excuse me. I know how to do a little bit. I just really prefer pencil on paper. I know that, like, I have an iPad, I've got an Apple Pencil, all that kind of thing. I've got everything to do it. And I have done a little bit of it. I'm just not very good at it, I suppose. And like I said, I prefer the feel of pencil on paper, and it's very hard to mimic that for an iPad. They do have a screen, I don't know if it's a screen protector, but a layer, kind of like a plastic layer that you put over your screen, kind of a screen protector, but it will mimic the feel of paper. I have not tried that. I'm kind of curious as to whether or not whether or not it would work and what I would think of it at that point, but I don't know. I've still got paper and I've still got pencils, so that's why I haven't really pursued that a whole lot. Every now and then I'll what I do with it is, if I have a drawing that I'm trying to work, like say sometimes I'll do a portrait, but then I'll like put in a little bit of I'll put some splashes of color in there before I actually commit to what I want to do on the paper. I'll take a picture of that drawing, and then I will go in with, say, some watercolor brushes, or try different colors and see which one I like best to go with whatever I'm trying to do at the time. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but it probably has saved me some headaches, honestly, doing it that way. That way I can tell whether or not a color is going to work for the drawing that I already have, because it's usually pretty minimal. I don't believe I I don't believe I have any pictures that I could show you right now, or I would. Um, but it actually, um, using that with Procreate, the iPad, using the iPad and iPencil, Apple Pencil, iPencil, using that with Procreate actually works really well for things like that for me. Some people can do digital art all day long and it looks awesome when they're done. I don't take anything away from those people. That's just not the way that I tend to work. I tend to work just like you're watching me now. Very slow and deliberate. There, so that's darkening up a bit. It's definitely not far enough yet, but you get the idea what I'm shooting for here. I do too. She says I feel like paper to pencil is more personal, and I 100% agree with that. Besides, I really don't have a printer where I could print digital artwork out yet. I keep telling my wife I'm going to buy a printer. It could happen yet. And honestly, one of the reasons I would like to have a printer is because every year I do drawings of my grandkids, as gifts for my kids, and I tell you what, I don't want to draw them again, but I really like the pictures when they're done. I would let my kids take the originals, but boy, I sure would like to have some copies of those to hang up on the wall too. So I think, man, better shut up before I get myself in trouble. No, she'd be good with it. And there was her comment. No, I just don't think at this point yet. I don't think that I'm ready for one. Tomorrow could be a different story. I could definitely talk myself into one by tomorrow. But tonight, I don't. I'm in this the state of mind that I'm just not ready for one. Let's smooth this out. I didn't rub. I just dabbed just to see if I could feel a crumb there or something. I thought maybe there was a crumb right there, but there wasn't. I Sorry about that. Sometimes when I have things right in my face and I'm trying to work around them, I don't realize that I work myself right off the screen. Oh, and I just ran out of room on my computer because I was recording this. Hopefully it goes to YouTube. Alright, so I have a downspout right here. I might as well do a little bit of something with this while I'm here. This is so much better with a sharpened pencil. Shoot, I lost my line. You know, I looked to see how much room I had left before I hopped on, before I hit record, and I had 3 gigs left at that time. And I was kind of surprised because, well, I thought I had more. But I didn't. But I do have an auxiliary hard drive. I'll save what I can and I'll get some things off this, some old videos. Video takes up a lot of room on a computer. A lot more than what you would think. Well, a lot more than what I thought, anyway. Alright, I tell you what, if I can get this section right here done yet tonight, that's where I'm gonna try to get that section done. We'll try to do it relatively quickly, but we'll see how quick it goes. I'm gonna try to get that done and then we'll call it there. So I've got the ball. On this section. I do have the balcony there. This came out a little bit too far. That's alright. Nobody's ever going to notice that, right? I won't tell if you don't. I hope it doesn't bother anybody when I sit here and spin my artwork, because I cannot do it from one angle. Your wrist and your hand and everything they have their own rhythm, their own shapes. So I try to use the shape that my hand will naturally draw, or I try to angle. So what I try to do is I try to turn things to where my hand is naturally going to want to make the best mark that it can. So hopefully y'all don't. Hopefully it don't make you all sick. You looking to do that? Now we'll get this window in. And there's a balcony. Shocker. That means there's a post there. We'll just bring that over to this downspout right about there. I think that's why I keep working off the screen. It's by spinning the way I do. Yeah, that printer, that's definitely top secret. All right, little tiny window here. Very light on this side. All right, we got these canopies. Got this that's going to come down. Yep, something less like that, and we'll shoot these lines straight down to there, and that's where they'll end. That's where that juts over. And we need to darken that side of that column a little bit, I guess. I think I'm going to go straight to the blending stump and see if I can just use the lead that's on there. Yeah. We'll use that. There we go. That'll work. Get that line across for the bottom of the canopy. And we'll get these windows in. Oh, what happened? Started losing that a little bit there. Sorry. A little bit too heavy with the graphite. There. Just touch that and it'll lift excess off. Usually we'll knock it back to where you'd like to have it. A little darker underneath. And what do we have underneath this canopy? Right here. I cannot tell exactly what that is, so we'll make some noise here. Yeah, we'll go with that. The problem with sharpening a pencil and keeping it sharp, I found that because your lead is so pointy, it's putting more lead down and it's harder to control the pressure on it at that point. So a lot of times I don't sharpen them until I absolutely need to, because I like to be able to bounce back and forth between having a sharper edge and having a nice dull edge. And a lot of times as you're drawing, if you hold it in the same position every time, you'll end up getting a flat spot, which it'll be more of a, I don't want to say a gradient, but it'll definitely be a softer edge. But then if you roll your pencil, like say, I've been using it this way. Well, that edge that has been touching the paper is getting to be a lot softer. It's going to be wider. If I take and I roll that lead over, I'll have a point on the other side, and that way you can bounce back and forth between having something like this and having, a nice softer line. If that makes sense. All right, I'm missing anything in here. Got the window. I don't believe I'm missing anything in here, so let's go ahead and shade this section in now. All right, you're starting to be more noticeable now that this is in a darker area. I probably am going to have to go maybe a little bit darker up in here. And definitely under this overhang, I'm going to have to go a little bit darker, especially through here. But you're starting to see how the shadow is rolling down the wall. starting to get a little bit more pronounced. I wasn't seeing it that much until I hit it with my blending stump here, and then it started popping out at me. Definitely don't want it as dark down here. And I can still see lines in here, so I'm kind of going on an angle just to kind of minimize those. Trying to make it more of a smooth gradient than the lines that I'm seeing. There we go. Yeah, I think I'm feeling that. How do you get the balconies to stand out away from the window behind them? Well, you kind of got to draw them into it. And then you kind of, there's going to be more shading. Like right now, there's not a lot of shading. And I'm talking out in here. But what I do is I'll detail the balcony itself slightly. And then when I bring the door down, I'll just bring the door down to it. And I don't generally do a whole lot of what's behind this railing because that railing is going to cover most of it. Wish I could do that pencil trick where they could flip their pencil around. I have not figured that out. It'd be kind of cool. But I have not figured that out yet. I've tried it with my Apple Pencil, but... Now I'm coming back through and I'm redefining my edges in there just a little bit of shading, a little bit of shadow, just where it needs it. Mainly to the right side of everything. The left side I don't want to go too far because it's very hard to see in the picture, so I'm just going to use the illusion like that. The illusion. There I go, going off the side of the screen again. Putting down just a little bit more graphite up in here just so I can kind of blend that in a little bit more. Just make it just a little bit darker at the top. I'm just working that in with a series of little bitty swirls. So I'm trying to work out any of the lines that might be left over and give it a little bit more, just a little bit more gradient. All right, that's making a little bit more sense now, I think, compared to the reference. But I don't like this. This right here needs to go darker. It's very gradual that it gets light, so I don't think that it's going to hurt anything if it doesn't go completely. I mean, in the reference, it doesn't go completely light up there, towards this end, but it does seem like it gets a little bit lighter going across. But it's so minute that in reality, I probably don't need to do that. Get that corner edge back in. Here we go. There, I think that looks a little bit better. It's definitely getting darker up in here where I want it to be. I do need to get a little bit of shape on this ball. So you can tell that it's there. And there's one over here. Darken that up too, and then we have one here. I might as well hit these while I have a sharp pencil. And there'll be another one here. I think there's just the 4 of them. I think there's just 4 of those balls hanging. But we're almost there. Almost there for tonight. Here's that lattice work again. Yeah, I think that'll work. This needs to come back to here. Shake that end down. Very lightly, just trying to get a little bit of indication of some shadow underneath that. Actually, that's going to go all the way down because I'm going to hit it with my stump. And then I'll redefine it again. And my stump is getting a little bit dark right there. See if we can dab just a bit of that off. Yeah, I'm good with that. Our lines. Top of the canopy, a little bit of shadow here. This right here is where I wish it was dull. Here we go. All right, and again, coming back down into these bushes, we'll hit those one more time. And about once I get over into this area, we'll call it for tonight. And see, this right here is also where I'd like to have a flatter side to my pencil as well. I will kind of look up and check out my reference, but I'm really not going off my reference for these. Maybe for shape ideas, but that's about it. Sometimes I'll land on a shape like I'm kind of liking this here, so I'll kind of darken around some of this area just to make this section pop out a little bit and kind of come down into it. Very lightly kind of come up to it, but then I'll just work it out. Maybe get a little bit darker out here. Roll the pencil. Okay, see? See how as I do that, it leaves different different values of marks. And I like the randomness of that. It definitely helps. It definitely helps when you're trying to create something that's very random. Bushes, random shadows, random shapes in it. I find that works pretty good for me. I do have a railing right here. It's just starting to come into the picture, so I need to make sure that I have this line in here and I don't go over it. So we'll go with that. Erase everything that was over it already, because I almost missed that line. A little dark underneath here. And we're starting to sneak up on the shape that we're liking. See, like I mentioned earlier, I knew that I'd end up bouncing back over to this one just to kind of blend it all together. I don't want it to look like, oh, he started here, stopped there, started here, stopped there. I want it all to be, pretty smooth through there, so. I'll hit it a few times with my kneaded eraser just to bring up some brighter spots. Hopefully that's conveying all right. I'm not even on the damn screen. Hopefully that's conveying okay. Sorry about that screen thing. I will try to get that figured out by the next time by my next stream. I'll try to figure this out, and maybe I'll end up taping my board down. Sometimes I do that too, but I don't want to. I like being able to move it around a little bit if I need to. I need to make a box. Maybe I put an outline on my desk with tape or something. If this is where it's got to be within this box. Maybe that's what I do. We'll see. But with that being said, I believe I'm just about done with where I wanted to get to tonight. All right. So that's where we're at. Here, I'll zoom it out so you guys can get a better overview of everything. And I probably will have to refocus maybe. I don't know. So, yeah, the focus isn't terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. So I will just leave it like that. This is where we're at right now. Boy, this one's been very repetitive. This has been a tough one to get through for me, for sure. And I'm not done. Even once I get done with this section right here, then I come back and I start going over deepening up shadows, trying to define certain areas that might catch your eye. I'll end up working on the bushes some more. I'm trying to do this one mainly on stream for the most part. More interesting areas. I know tonight wasn't very interesting. It's very repetitive, but this is part of what I do. So there, it's been documented. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up tonight. Anybody showed up, great. My name's Mike. I'm with Chasing Art, and I'll catch you next time.